Bonjour tout le monde. My name is Miroslav ŠEDIVý, and this is how my keyboard looks like. You recognize it? Is it a standard US keyboard layout? Anyone else using the same one? Oh, great. I love to see so many people using it. It allows me, in general, it allows to write in English and in some other languages, also to program, whether you program in Perl, Brainfuck, or some other higher level programming languages, or you write in English or Welsh, for example, if you want to type the name of this Welsh village, you can type it with this keyboard layout very well. Všetko funguje až do toho okamihu, keď začnete písať po slovensky. Napríklad moje priezvisko je Šedivý, ako ste si možno všimli v programe. Tam je mäkčeň na š, dlžen na y a na to na americkej klávesnici napísať nemôžem. Na to potrebujem tú slovenskú klávesnicu. Lenže slovenská klávesnica nie je QWERTY, je kverc. Všetky znaky sú troška inde a hore čísla sa robia so shiftom a nie priamo. Auf der deutschen Tastatur, wenn man wiederum zum Beispiel auf Deutsch schreibt, Umlaute oder scharfes S, braucht man schon die deutsche Tastatur, die erlaubt dann noch etwas anderes zu schreiben, aber das ist auch eine Querz-Tastatur und die extra Zeichen, die man zum Programmieren braucht, die sind wieder woanders. Und dann zwischen denen umzuschalten, ist auch ein bisschen komplizierter. Česká klávesnica je podobná slovenskej klávesnici, je tam U s kroužkem, R s háčkem, v podstate by sa dalo psať i na slovenskej, na českej klávesnici podobným spôsobom, no ale je tam trošičku rozdiel. J'ai pas besoin de demander qui utilise le clavier français, AZERTY. Je pense que la majorité, malheureusement, la majorité, oui, c'est AZERTY, le M il est ailleurs, le point on le fait avec un shift, ce qui n'est pas très agréable, par exemple, quand on édite un éditeur de texte Vim. Et le reste, il est totalement ailleurs. Et même si vous regardez sur le clavier français, il y a plein de touches, plein de caractères dont on n'a pas vraiment besoin, que vous n'utilisez pas tous les jours, comme livre, comme paragraphe, comme le 2 superposé. Malgré ça, vous utilisez le clavier français qui n'est pas vraiment idéal quand on veut programmer. Teclado castellano, si necesitamos N con tilde o signos de exclamación y de interrogación abiertos al principio de una frase, necesitamos teclado castellano, pero que es también un poco más diferente, como veis, que las letras ya son un poco más complicadas. Polska klawiatura jest bardzo podobna do amerykańskiej, z tą różnicą, że jak potrzebujete napísať do kogoś, kto się nazywa Grzegorz Wyczęcikiewicz i mieszka w Szączyżewościce, powiat Wękowody, jest potrzeba jakiś kresek, krąpiek i ogonków, no a na to jest potrzeba polskiej klawiatury, a to jest potrzeba nauczyć się czegoś innego. Con la tastiera italiana ho trovato incontrato una maniera come scrivere le lettere maiuscole accentuate perché gli italiani mettono due lettere sulla stessa tasta. Po svenska använder Ahmet ring, a magyar ABC-ben kettős ékes elkezett található is. Kvankam Esperanto estas internacia lingvo, ankaŭ existas kelkaj tre specialaj literoj. V türkčede büyük noktali i ve küçük noktasiz ivar. And we have only scratched the surface. So imagine every day if you type only in a few European languages, you see how your keyboard looks like. It is not that just AZERTY, a few letters are moving around. These are also all the special characters. And if you are programming every day, you have to imagine how many different layouts of dots, question marks, brackets, braces, pipes, and everything you have to remember. And even, for example, on the French keyboard, I was mentioning before, you have to play piano with all the chords, with pressing two other keys in order to type one simple character. So how can we switch between several European languages and type all of them on a single keyboard? Switching between keyboards is not an option. Character maps works if you are searching for one concrete character. Maybe you have remembered already some alt and some combinations of numerical codes that you can enter if you want to type some characters. But searching in character map is also not really an option if you are typing in a few languages every day. Fortunately, in the 80s, on these keyboard layouts, these are some Unix stations, there was a compose character. Who has ever seen a compose character, a compose key? One. Okay. This is a key that allows you sequentially, so I cannot play piano I can use Vim, I cannot use Emacs, I can use Vim, I can type sequentially, like Shift and something, Control and something. I cannot hold 3 or 4 keys at the same time. This compose character allows you to type sequentially compose key and 2 other keys in order to get a third key on your keyboard, no matter what keyboard you use. Usually I would prefer the standard US QWERTY one. So you see here, if you remember what you want to type, for example, in French, you want to type accent aigu. Accent aigu looks like a simple quote. So it means I type compose, simple quote, A, or compose, simple quote, Shift E to type E majuscule with accent aigu. Accent grave, it looks like backtick. Accent circonflexe looks like Karen. Tréma looks like double quote. If you want to type in French cédille, it is compose, comma, and C. If you want to type my last name with S with a Karen, it is compose C and S. And this doesn't matter in which language you type. Once you learn in French to type the name of Citroën with the E with tréma, and you know it is with double quote, and you want to type in German, so all the umlauts are also double quotes. The German scharf SS, the SZ, it is compose SS. Even if you... Anyone speaks German here? You know that since last year there is the standard that they have not lowercase but also uppercase SZ. On the standard German keyboard you cannot get it. You can get it using the compose key. So, and if you remember a few combinations, then you can use it also for a lot of other graphical characters like ellipsis, 3 dots, it is compose dot dot. In Spanish, question mark, inverted question mark, it is compose question mark, question mark. And this way you can simply type everything you need. This is not something that you have to program, it is already in your system. If you use common your operating system. In this file on your system there are over 6,000 lines with already pre-configured combinations that you can use for most European languages. So you see there is always multi-key, this is the compose, and then 2 other keys, and combining them you can get a third one. And there are really 6,000, so there are even things like less than and 3, it looks like a heart, it gives you heart. Smiley, it's a colon with parentheses, it gives you a smiley. CCCP gives you the communist sign. Everything this is defined. If you want to define your own characters, like if you want, for example, to type from time to time in Greek, and you can imagine, okay, I need alpha, I type compose GA, you can define your own Xcompose key, Xcompose file with the same format, and you can type any emojis, anything you want, and it will work on your system. So we know now how compose key works, but we still don't have it on our keyboard because your modern keyboard is strongly has a strong influence from the 80s when MS-DOS ruled the world, and they didn't use it. But you can define it on your keyboard. There are plenty of keys on your keyboard that you don't really use, for example, the red window key or menu key or print screen or I don't know what. In this file there is a list of all possible keys that you could assign compose key to. And then you just put this. You put this one line, set XKB map, you say which key you want to use, and you have a compose key on your keyboard. Even if you are using a French keyboard layout, you can define a compose key on this keyboard layout. Okay, so we have now hacked our keyboard in the first step. We can hack it a little bit more. There is one key on your keyboard that you are probably not using every day. Which one is it? Caps lock, right. So, who needs caps lock anyway? What can we do with caps lock? When we don't... Huh? Escape or L? Okay, another? Control, okay. Let's start with control. Don't forget your idea. Let's start with control. If we say, okay, our caps lock should work as a control modifier, we just add to our we have defined compose as, our compose key is menu key, and then we define caps lock is control modifier. Okay, and that way you can use it as a control because if it is next to A, next to A. What is on your, what? Next to A in QWERTY. No, there is something on the French keyboard layout. So you have, it's just next to your pinky finger. Okay, but now it would be a nice idea actually to hack our caps lock beyond imagination and use it as a control key and escape at the same time. What's the difference between control and escape? Control, usually I press it, I hold it, and I tap something else. Escape, I usually only hit it. So why could we have both of them? So it means your caps lock, if you press it and hold it, it will work as a control, but if you just press it and release it without pressing any other key, it will be your escape key. And there is a program for that called Escape for Linux. For your operating system, you can find certainly an alternative. And if you start this, it will exactly watch your caps lock, and as soon as it is released without pressing anything else, it will be escape, otherwise it will be control. So we have now hacked our keyboard layout. You can put nice stickers, a little bit smaller, so they fit on the keys. You put these two commands into your init files, and we are ready to rock and to use text editor of my choice, Vim. Anyone using Vim here? Most of you. Okay. So what is Vim? Vim or VI is older than most of you here. It is one of the standard, it is not the standard editor. Standard editor is Ed, but it is one of the most long-living editors in the world that exists around since the 70s. Vim is the open source version that you can install on most operating systems today. It is around since 91, around, yeah. The author, Bram Mulliner, wrote it firstly for Amiga, Commodore Amiga, and then later he adapted it, ported it to most other operating systems. There is NeoVim since about 3-4 years. That is a fork of it that is more community-driven, that I'm actually using, but there is no real difference between them. But what is more interesting is the other way around. We just go not from the 90s, we go back to the 70s or even to the end of 60s, like 50 years ago, and there was Ed. Anyone knows Ed? It's the standard Unix editor. This is the editor everybody who works on a computer for a longer time during their day and during their career should know about. It is not difficult to master it, even. Do you know these two guys? Then is Richie, Ken Thompson. They are sitting in front of the PDP-11 and ACR33. Do you know these two guys? Without these two guys, there will be no Unix, no BSD, no Linux, no Mac OS, no Android, just the Windows everywhere. These are the authors of Unix sitting in front of the computer. And now the computer, PDP-11, is the big box at the back of the room. There's some lights on it. And the ACR33 are the two desks in front of them. So you see on this desk, it is keyboard, no screen, and printer. This is the way how people, not me, I'm a little bit younger than that, but how people communicated with computers 50 years ago. So you entered your comments using keyboard, and the answer came through the printer. The printer was an a very long roll of paper, and everything that computer wanted to write you came just line after line, like a typing machine. And this is where they wrote the whole Unix system. So imagine now if you just want to write an app, how many tools, how much power you need. This computer has less memory and CPU than your smartphone. And using this keyboard with the printer, they were able to communicate with the computer and also use a text editor. If you imagine a typing machine, I want to type a letter, I take a sheet of paper, I type it, and well, I type it line after line. At the end, it is finished. If I want to edit something, I cannot really edit. I can just overwrite it somehow. With this, they had to find a way how to edit a file. So it means how to find an editor that allowed them to edit a file, to change the lines, to delete lines, to substitute, to add lines at any random place in the file, as you know now if you are editing a text. This is how Ed looks like. Everything that is white background, it was me who typed it. Yellow background is the answer of the computer. This is not a screen. You have to imagine this on a roll of paper. So every line comes after next line, and if you see the line, you cannot return to it. There is no cursor. So here, at the beginning, I start at. A is a comment. At the beginning, I am in a comment. I say A means append lines at the current place, so at the zeros line. Then I type 2 lines, hello world, and everyone at Web2day, and dot is the end of my input. And then the computer knows, okay, there are 2 new lines in my file. N is a command that prints the current line with a number of with the line number at the beginning. So I receive 2, it is the number of the line, and everywhere at Web2day. Now I want to add another line. I say A, how are you today, dot. So I edit another line. And now imagine that you are programming this way, but they wrote the whole operating system with this. This was the standard editor until mid-70s, and the only way how to communicate efficiently with the text editor, or with the program. Then %n, it means the whole file, n printed with the number of lines. And here, this is interesting. On the first line, replace, this is a regular expression word with the word Web2day, deleted the second line and printed everything, and I get a new file, write it to a file, so many bytes, quit, finished. So, and this is how they edit it. And actually, add is also on your system. If you look on your computer, add is very probably there, and the editor will be there even if everything else is broken on your computer. The screen doesn't work. You can still edit files and let it like read it through a speaker or print it on a keyboard, or I don't know. It will work anyway. So this was like 50 years ago. Then we come to the mid-70s. With Bill Joy, who had such a computer to their disposition. It is a terminal that has a screen where you can move around with a cursor, probably. And he wrote VI for this because it was possible now to work in 2 dimensions and edit files visually with a cursor. VI is actually visual mode for the X editor. This is how the keyboard looked like. This is a little bit different from the standard QWERTY keyboard layout we are using today. But you can already see next to A, you can see Control and Escape. This was my intention to put them as near as possible. At that time, these were 2 keys. Nowadays, you can have it as 1 key. And what is interesting are the arrows around HJKL. HJKL are the official cursor movements in VI. You see there are no arrow keys. No numerical blocks, no F keys. There are just these. And with using HJKL, you can just move around your cursor by 1 line, by 1 cursor, by 1 step left, right, top, up, and down. The question is, where do these HJKL come from? If you know ASCII, you know probably ASCII from the position 32 upwards, but there are some positions in ASCII code below 32. And this is it. This is the possibility how to communicate with the printer, with the original printer, teletype using standard communication interface. Here, if you probably have already seen something like Karen H. If you type Karen H on your computer, it will just move. Control H on your computer, it will do something like backspace. Well, these 32 characters, you couldn't reach them directly on the keyboard. You had to hold the control. The control is actually from control keys. And then hit another key that has ASCII value 64 positions more than this. So for example, A has a position of 65. If I hit Control A, actually, I am creating ASCII symbol 1, which is start of header. Some of them you can probably recognize. Backspace is just left. Line feed, it's like on the typing machine. Line feed, it means one step, 1 row further. In Windows, there is always in files at the end of the line, there is \n, \r. \n is this line feed, and \r is carriage return. Because your printer doesn't only turn 1 row, but also has to move the carriage back to the beginning. And this is how all these HJKL and so on were created. So for example, here, if you see Control D, end of transmission. If you want to get out of a shell, you just press Control D, and it means it sends a character of ASCII value 4, and it means, okay, it is the end of transmission. So you see that now we are just using our keyboard, and with keyboard we can do everything we need. There are still some people who think that they need a mouse when editing text. You don't need it. You are editing text. You are not drawing images. You are not pointing and shooting at something. You are editing texts, and using VI that uses keyboard at the fullest extent allows you to edit everything you need. You remember with the add, I used some commands like A to append a new line, and to print the line, and so on. In Vim, we use the whole keyboard to type, to send commands. So you recognize AJKL for the movement, and there are plenty of other commands that we use. Some of them are red. These are the commands like verbs. Green are movements. Yellow as well. That allow us to create something like a grammar. I say delete one line, delete a word, delete until the end of the sentence. And then if I want to copy or paste or do anything, it is just a different verb but the same movement. Because if someone says AJKL are the only keys, I have to use AJKL instead of arrows or mouse. AJKL is just, it allows you just to move like one step left, right, up, down. But in VI, we have a lot of other keys that allow us to move to the next paragraph, to the next screen, like page down, to the next word, end of the word, until occurrence of some character, until plus 3 lines, minus, and then end. So you have really possibilities to move around, and that's why VI is really the fastest possible editor, because with your keyboard you can just work with the text, you program your text, and you can move around much quicker than searching for your mouse on your mouse pad and moving and clicking just one row next too far. Or with VI you can do it very well. VI editor is not the only one that uses such movements or such keys. There is in between quite a lot of Vim-like software that got inspired. These are completely different programs, like Bash and Z Shell are shell. iStreet Max are window managers, so that help you to organize your windows, your terminals on your keyboard. Qt Browser, Imperator, Vimium are all... Qt Browser is a web browser. Imperator, Vimium are extensions of Chromium and Firefox. Mat is an email program. Then you have here PDF viewer. This is an image. Feh is an image viewer, and VI Paint is even image editor. You can edit images using keyboard. Never tried that. And there are quite a lot of other software. But all of them are not text editors. These are completely different programs that just use some features of navigating, of searching, of deleting files or deleting objects with the same keys like VI. There are also quite a lot of text editors and IDEs with VI mode. I have tried a few of them. They work up to 50 to 98%. 98%, it means that every 2, 3, 4 minutes, I want to do something in VI or in that editor that is not conform to VI, that works a little bit differently, and that just, I can see it, oh, it's a problem, or I don't see it and it does something else and it destroys a part of my file. So actually, if you are editing files, it's better to use something that is not like Vim, Vim mode, VI mode, but really to use VI or Vim. If you think that all the commands and the steep learning curve, it's too complicated for you, how many of you are sitting in front of computer every day for at least 2-3 hours and during your whole career? Okay, it was the false question. Actually, I had to ask the opposite to see that that everybody actually sits in front of the computer every day. And this is your job. So if you ask, is it worth the time? You go to XKCD and then you check, okay, how many times per day do I do a task? How much time do I spare if I do it better? And how much time can I invest into my task to get some return on my time investment? And working correctly with texts, this is just worth time because you work with text all the time. There is another activity that you do that you probably can do well, but that you don't do so often, like editing texts, is driving a car. And you have invested a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money driving a car. We can see it and hear it the whole time here, that people are using it. And then you're saying, okay, once I have my permis de conduire, like driving license, and now I can now drive cars, and all of them are the same. Yes, most of these blue control structures of a car are identical, but if you are changing a car from time to time, you see that there is plenty of other things that are different. And each time you sit in a new car and like, how is it, how to go to reverse gear, how to use some other like air conditioning, it is always different. And it is the same with text editors. All of them can edit text, but every uses a different keyboard shortcuts or other way to manipulate texts. So if you want to already to learn it, you can of course try it out. If you have a problem, you can search on Google or Stack Overflow. The most popular question on Stack Overflow is how to quit Vim. It's even not a joke anymore. So I think if you want, this is not only Vim, if you use any software tool more than an hour a day, just read a book about it, because the author of the book will guide you through all the intentions of the author of the program, what they wanted to do with the program, and how it actually should work. For Vim, I can recommend only the name of Drew Neal, who is author of videocasts, vimcasts.org, where he presented like 60, 70 of them already, some nice tricks how to use Vim very well. The two books are very different. Practical Vim is a timeless book. It is like 5 years old, but it works the same 20 years ago or 20 years in the future. It helps you to go through the whole functionality of Vim really with the basic settings and to master, to think of your text as an object that you have to hack, that you have to program. Modern Vim is more concentrated on building very good IDE for your work. I'm one of the technical reviewers of Modern Vim. It is already in the print, so you can actually buy it already. But with Practical Vim, you can really master Vim even better. But you have your whole lifetime, your whole career to master it. I have mentioned Vim 8 NeoVim. Actually, I am using NeoVim. NeoVim was a fork of Vim 7.4 a few years ago. It has some better settings, better communication with terminal, and what is most important, it can communicate with many programming languages. So no matter which programming language you are using, you can write your own plugins in Python, C, Java, JavaScript, C#, anything you imagine, for Vim. And it allows you to use the programming language you are the best at, to use it to hack your texts. So you are not only limited to the functionality of Vim, but you can use your programming language to manipulate. As I told you, I'm using one text editor for everything. Give me your stuff. So I program my slides written in Vim, emails, books, documentation, configuration files, everything, because Vim gives you most tools you can imagine, and it works well with other tools in your toolchain that you have, or in your toolbox that you can use to manipulate your files even better. So it has syntax highlighting, indenting, auto-completion, asynchronous linting, communicated with Git very well, so you see what changes are in the file, and you can directly from Git do your Git commits, diffs, and everything. It has advanced searching, some snippets if you use some languages that have a lot of auto-generated code. Folding to hide the content you don't need immediately. Interaction with terminal and with IPython in the case of Python, so you can send the PC chunks of code directly to the interpreter, and spell checking. So if you program, for example, it spell checks only the strings and the comments. So your names of the functions may have any name. On the other side, I'm using Python to Python my Vim. If I install it, and then I can just import NeoVim as a library and then work directly with my text. So in my plugin, I can just load the whole content of the file or just the parts that I selected, and it works very well. So this is an example of a plugin that I am using in my email program in a company. When I write an email, it looks who I'm writing to, and then it writes like hello and the first names of all my colleagues. If it is someone from outside of the company with a different email address, it writes in German sehr geehrte, so like Mesdames, Messieurs in French, and at the end it adds even the signature. Customize NeoVim. endless possibilities of customizing, but please, at the beginning, master it without any customizing, because Vim is anywhere. Any server you log on, it will be there without your customization, so just master NeoVim or Vim with the basic settings that are there. If you have it on your own machine, you can, of course, you can do some things like I want to learn AJKL or other movement keys. I don't want arrow keys, so I deactivate them. You can remap keys, change the behavior, appearance, and install a few plugins. The most important things, don't put anything in your config file that you don't understand, and this is valid for any program, not only for Vim. If you have already your VimRC, like your configuration program, take it with you. It is your CV, actually. Because even if you change companies or change your computers, you can take it with you, and it will grow with you, with your experience. Even if you use more computers, the best idea is to have all of them at the same place. I would like to recommend you here how to organize your .dot files locally, but this would take a few more minutes. So if anybody is interested, I can show it to you afterwards. And at the end, is it one brain, one keyboard, one editor? So lessons learned. Use your muscle memory, because using one keyboard layout will allow you not to have to remember too many keyboard layouts where you have to remember which key is located where. So if you prefer, you can use QWERTY or stay with your AZERTY, but with the compose key. Try to use one editor for all your text editing tasks. Programming languages of choice, of course. Take the .dot files with you. Don't put anything in your config files you don't understand. Back to the roots, it means even if you use the most modern tools, try to be interested into how it was before, or why it was before, because everywhere is a reason for that, and enjoy your tools. Thank you very much.